Do the Golden Knights have a true number one defenseman? Back with more after this on Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast, and please subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. We are brought to you today by FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. Shout out to Carol Schramm of the Hockey News for another outstanding article this past week, where she wrote an article about how to identify the top center on each team. That was last week, and Jack Eichel fit under all of that criteria. And now we talk about today another article she wrote. It's about defensemen. A true number one defenseman has the most minutes on the blue line, quarterbacks the power play, puts up big points, and is a righty shot. And Chris, no one fits that criteria on VGK.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a good way to put that if we're going to tee it up like that. Pietrangelo checks a lot of boxes. He's obviously going to be where we start the conversation as far as a potential number one defenseman goes. Does he check enough boxes to be a true number one? We talked in a show last week about McCrimmon, the need for number ones, the need for two number ones. Jack Eichel, number one center, which he scraped the charts according to this Hockey News article we referenced last week. And then Pietrangelo doesn't necessarily hit the charts, hit the leadership, hit the top 4 or 5 true number one defensemen in the National Hockey League. He doesn't even make it that high, Tony.
Yeah. And
not our rankings. Let's be clear before someone wants to, this is us referencing Hockey News right now.
Right. There are only 3 elite blue liners, according to this article: Cale Makar, Roman Josi, and Adam Fox. And Pietrangelo, yes, he fits in, hits a lot of those boxes, as you mentioned, falls short on a lot of this criteria. Someone who will be next, you would think, but he's not a right-hand. Why do you have to be a right-handed shot? That was my only question as far as how this criteria aligns, because Noah Hanifin is next, right? So 47 points this past season, and a career high in minutes, 23 minutes and 37 seconds between the two teams, Calgary and here in Vegas. A left-handed shot, however. And the thing about Hanifin, which could be a show topic in and of itself, Hanifin 13 power play points this past season. Expectations,
for sure. I mean,
they've got to be pretty high on him this upcoming season.
Comparing Hanifin and Pietrangelo. So the big thing for me, we talked yesterday when we were napkining this segment, was time on ice. Time on ice is obviously going to be a big one, and we feel like Pietrangelo never leaves the ice. And last season, Pietrangelo averaged 23 minutes and 33 seconds of ice time. Noah Hanifin.
So Hanifin more.
Noah Hanifin, 23 minutes, 36 seconds of ice time. So
36. I had 37.
Okay.
In any event,
Fox must round differently than ESPN or wherever you're getting yours from. So there's another debate. Were you on CNN? Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah.
Politics and hockey. I mixed them up. Dang it. Looking just again, time on ice is just my main factor. And like John Carlson from the Caps, 25 minutes, 53 seconds. I got a feeling Logan Thompson and Carlson are going to get very close in Washington. You got Drew Doughty, 25 minutes, 47 seconds. Seth Jones, Chicago, 25-29. 25-25. Rasmus Dahlin, Cale Makar, one of the people on the top 3 on the list, 24-46. Who were the other top 2 It was Fox and Josi. Okay. Fox and Josi. Where are Fox? Roman Josi, 24-37.
Mm-hmm.
And Adam Fox, I don't know if he's actually in the top.
Was it?
So Adam
No.
Fox might actually get a little less ice
Well,
time
injuries,
than the rest of these
and what
players.
have you, and his average, they just played him to a pitch count at some point this past season. So that doesn't. It's not
That's why I
really.
help to have the Rangers fan on the podcast sometimes.
So Petro is under this category, Chris, of going to be replaced. Going to be
Yeah,
replaced.
I mean, so before we get to that, I want to just talk about the people who I guess are ranked above.
Mhm.
Charlie McAvoy, Rasmus Dahlin, Werenski, Miro Heiskanen, Gustav Forsling, Dougie Hamilton, Morgan Riley, Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes, well, fair he'd be higher up. Josh Morrissey. And then we scroll down again. Teams that might have a true number one defenseman. Mackenzie Weegar, Mo Seider from Detroit, who's basically a rookie. Evan Bouchard,
good.
Brock Faber, who is basically a rookie.
Mhm.
Noah Dobson, Vince Dunn. We still haven't mentioned Pietrangelo yet or Hanifin. Now,
Young legs.
have a number one defenseman coming. These are up and comers. Anaheim. Okay, we're gonna skip this list. My point is, look how far I have to scroll before.
You
Okay,
have to go way
teams that
down.
might need a number one defenseman soon. Pietrangelo. There we go. Finally, along with the Victor Hedmans, Drew Doughty, Brent Burns, and John Carlson. So I don't know. Is there enough respect for Pietrangelo in this article? I know we've talked about him a lot last week, and I think the first thing I say about Pietrangelo, it's not sexy watching him play. It's not. It's like watching Mark Stone. It's not fun watching Mark Stone skate around the ice. What is fun with Mark Stone is his back check and his leadership and his ability to find ways to get it done. Pietrangelo is certainly in that same spot, playing all the PK minutes. Basically, if it's a 1-goal game in the last, VGK is up by 1 or 2 goals in the last 2 to 2.5 minutes of the game, Pietrangelo's not coming off the ice. It ain't sexy at times. He definitely doesn't necessarily look the part, but he gets the job done. And I think Pietrangelo, I don't think he's like a top tier number one defenseman, but I don't think I should have to scroll through 25 to 28 other defensemen before I find Pietrangelo at least getting some mention.
I said this past season, how many times did I point out this season defensively that he was beaten and beaten badly? I thought he got beat so many times, and defensively slow and getting back, or just beaten and not physical enough in front of the net. He did. He got beat up this past season, and he's not the quarterback for the power play. Will not be, right? He will be replaced in the upcoming season. Does not put up big points either.
No, Pietrangelo is the number 3 defenseman right now in the power play unit. It's Noah Hanifin, Shea Theodore, and then Pietrangelo is going to get what's left, or Pietrangelo might come out on that pairing when the power play has 20, 25 seconds left and Coach Cassidy decides to get a second defenseman out there with the other player coming out of the box. That's Pietrangelo's power play role. Now, that could change. Maybe he finds a scoring touch. I don't know. I mean, he's never topped out at more than 16 goals and 36, 39 assists, 43 assists. I don't know how many of those were power play assists or not. But the point being here, you mentioned about the slippage and stuff like that, and I had my comments about watching him. The only, as far as when Pietrangelo was a full-time NHLer, he has been in the minus side of the plus-minus category twice. In 2014, he was a -2 with the St. Louis Blues. Fast forward to 23-24, 9 seasons later, he's a -5 with the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah.
As far as his previous history with Vegas, in the shortened season, he played 41 games and was a +20. Wow. Okay. +7 in 80 games the following year. Stanley Cup season, 73 games +16 or +13, pardon me. Then now down to a -5. And why that's a little bit concerning, he is the one getting that 23 minutes and 33 seconds of ice time out there. So, yeah. And I don't know if it's as much concerned about last season, Tony, as much as I am about what's coming up. And by the end of the season, is Noah Hanifin the number 1 VGK defenseman?
Yeah, he by far, I think, we've been projecting that. He will be. He has to be eventually because he's an offensive defenseman, which VGK now, towards the end of last season without him before
Theodore's
they
an
signed that
offensive
secret
defenseman.
contract.
Hanifin's, sorry.
Before they signed that secret contract there, they don't really sign contracts, in season, whatever. Before all that transpired, VGK was struggling defensively. They were just getting older.
Noah Hanifin is a gem of a find, and I'm okay with the contract. I'm not okay with the timing of the contract and the way it was handled, but Noah Hanifin is a gem of a find for the Vegas Golden Knights. And I think that is a contract that will be at par or he will exceed his value. He's not going to massively outplay it unless he starts turning in 58 to 62 point seasons, which he might. I mean, there's a lot of local media people who are extremely high on Hanifin as an offensive player. I'm okay with it, but I think Hanifin just brings a lot more to the table. I love his transition game. I don't know how you even measure this, but I feel like he's one of the best transitional skaters going from forwards to backwards and getting to full speed in such a quick amount of time.
Interesting. And all McCrimmon had to do was just be honest about, hey, this was the deal that Hanifin had. It was the same exact deal that they put on the table in Calgary. And so all he had to do was say, this has been in the works, but no, he has to come out and he's not transparent at all. He comes out and he says, oh, we never signed any players, around the deadline or in season or what have you. Malarkey.
No GM.
That was
malarkey.
Come on. That was just malarkey. Like he's not pulling the wool over our eyes. Coming up next, fantasy hockey top 200. Malarkey in the parking lot.
Malarkey on the napkin.
Coming up next, fantasy hockey top 200 rankings from NHL.com. Who made it from VGK? We'll get to that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily, each and every day. That's right, there's something for everyone, all day, every day, all summer long. And as we approach the NFL season, it's going to be exciting. I like all the props that they have up there. It's really cool, so check it out. And, of course, it is your home for Major League Baseball. Head on over to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights, Tony Cardasco and Chris Garlick from Las Vegas. We appreciate you making us your first listen each and every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast. Of course, today is WTF. And Saturdays, sometimes you get the Chris and Chris Jr. show. So the usual suspects are in the top 10 of the NHL.com's fantasy hockey rankings. You've got McDavid, McKinnon, Kucherov. You like that? Okay, we have
Kucherov.
I said Mick Kucherov.
You were trying to make sure I was paying attention, even though I
wasn't. Yeah, of course. You have Matthews and Pasta and Pasternak, and you have Draisaitl and Panarin and Rantanen, Kachuk and Crosby. You go down this list. It is the top 200 rankings according to NHL.com, and the highest ranked Golden Knight is Jack Eichel at 29. Next closest, Tomas Hertl at 77. And we had to look up Jonathan Marchessault.
You're saying Hertl was number 2 on the fantasy for the Golden Knights?
As far as I know. Yeah, I thought I looked it up. Okay. I was getting dizzy looking at that list. 200 players. Where's the 200-foot player? Oh, 122. Okay. So Jonathan Marchessault checked in at 64. So his 64 ranking would have put him second on VGK's fantasy list. What are your thoughts about this fantasy 200 list from NHL.com?
The fantasy 200-foot player list? What?
Yeah, that's allegedly one. It's a band of one.
I mean, listen, fantasy, there's a lot more to it. I mean, it's not just simply goals and assists. You have time on ice. You got shot blocks. Face-offs are a big point. I did my first fantasy hockey league last year with some people I met through the hockey card community.
You did?
I did. It's interesting. It's actually interesting.
How did you fare?
Well, the problem is I didn't pay attention to my roster for the first half of the year, so I buried myself. But then I actually started paying attention in the second half. I tried to climb into playoff contention, but I couldn't do it. But if I do it again this year, I think I'll do a lot better. So you have a
number 1 draft pick because you tanked it?
I like that. Yeah, Celebrini number 1. Let's go. So I mean, there's so much more to it here. I'm just kind of going through the list. You said Eichel was where?
So we're going to go. I'll tell you the
Eichel 29. I got Eichel right here.
Okay, I'm going to go with Hertl 77, Stone 110, Carlson 122, Aiden Hill checks in at 129, Again, it's different criteria, obviously, for goalies.
Of course.
Shea Theodore, 143. Samsonov, 157. Pietrangelo, 165. And Ivan Barbashev. Wow, that was a popular show, our Barbashev show, checking in at 189. The thing that really strikes me about these lists is that if VGK is a cup contender in the future, this next upcoming season, it's more of a team effort, right? For VGK. Like they haven't had that notoriety of getting an award winner, other than the last time I was going to say save Marc-Andre Fleury, right? And the tandem with him and Leonard. But outside of that, pretty much they don't have a lot of dominant players that are just making a splash in the NHL. It's more of a team effort for the Vegas Golden Knights, just as it is on our podcast. It's a team effort on Napkins.
So yeah, thanks to Sharman for providing us with our that's toilet paper.
That's whatever. A different napkin, yeah.
Whatever. All right, so going back, good point. You mentioned the 22-23 season where it was more of a team effort. 66 and 65 were the point leaders, Eichel and Stevenson. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 players in the 50-point range. As far as goal scoring, you only had 3 20-goal scorers. Riley Smith, 26, Eichel, 27, Marchessault, 28 points right there. So, yeah, I mean, from the fantasy side, it's, you're looking for opportunity, right? A player like Pavel Dorofeev might not even get drafted or drafted really near the end. Brendan Brisson is probably not getting drafted at all, but he's going to have an opportunity. So those are the players you're really looking for, comparative to how we always hear Kelly McCrimmon making comments about playing above your contract, outperforming your contract. It's the same thing for whether it's fantasy football, hockey, baseball. It doesn't matter. You're looking for players who outperform their ADP, their average draft position. Is taking Jack Eichel as a top 25 pick the best play to do that? I don't know. I mean, Eichel should be a little more than a point per game type of player. Is he going to exceed that or be healthy enough to give you that output the entire season? That's the bigger question. Shea Theodore is another risky play just for that same reason. If you get 70 games of Shea Theodore, you're getting points, even with his less power play minutes, which I'm not sold the season ends like that, assuming Theodore sticks around, because I'm bullish on the healthy version of Shea Theodore, and I think Shea Theodore comes into next season, if it's with Vegas, with a chip on his shoulder. I mean, I've talked about many times last week about how when Noah Hanifin arrived, Theodore's point output went from 1.02 points per game to 0.7 points per game. 22 game sample size on either side. I think it was 22 and 23 or whatever it was. Not a huge sample size, but point being is Theodore is going to come into this season with a chip on his shoulder for 2 reasons. One, for what we just said, and 2, it's a contract year. Theodore knows, especially after watching what happened in the last offseason with what Stevenson got paid, with what Marchessault, not Marchessault, but Stamkos and all these other players who basically got a lot more than what their AFP projections. I forgot the name of that site that we referenced.
Yeah.
So that's where Shea Theodore is going to be looking for. And I'm excited to see Shea Theodore hopefully have a healthy season and make for a difficult decision for Kelly McCrimmon with the rising salary cap, if Theodore is going to stay or if he's going to get traded before or during the season.
It's very interesting. Why do you think I thought Jonathan Marchessault would be ranked higher, to be honest?
Where was he? Did you say 180 or something?
No, he was 64. 64.
All right,
so he would have ranked second
around him. So let's just read a list of about 18 names here. Sergachev, Wyatt Johnson, Brock Besser, Noah Dobson, Barzal, Konechny, Jesper Bratt, Dylan Larkin, John Tavares, Tim Stützle. There's Marchessault, your boy Mika Zibanejad, Josh Morrissey. That's actually Josh Morrissey, very good defenseman to take for points. Dougie Hamilton, goalie. Tage Thompson, Buffalo. Actually, that's probably where I would go before Marchessault. Owen Tippett, Kevin Fiala. So, I mean, you're throwing a dart at that point. Like your top 4, 5, 6 players, some combination of McDavid, McKinnon, Kucherov, Austin Matthews. That's your top 4. Then there's a gap when you start considering Pasternak and Draisaitl and stuff like that. But the deeper you get in the draft, it's more about is from a fantasy perspective, roster composition, having the right number of wings, the right number of centers, because you can't just throw a bunch of players out there. You have to throw a certain number of players in each category out there. And then you have like a couple wild card skater spots that could, fill the gaps in your roster. So when you get down to that point, it's more about roster composition, your hometown players, right? And if you're a Nashville Preds fan, you're going to take Jonathan Marks or so in that 60 range, maybe, instead of grabbing a Tage Thompson or an Owen Tippett or a Kevin Fiala. Although Fiala was a draft pick of the Preds, maybe they would like Fiala.
Coming up next, it's that time of the week again. It is WTF. Stay with us. We'll return with more after this on Locked On Golden Knights. Welcome back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. We appreciate you making us your first listen. We appreciate us staying on time, on a scheduled time for once on this edition. Of course, make sure that you download, of course, our Locked On Golden Knights audio, which is going bonkers these days. And, of course, you could find our podcast wherever you get your podcast. And, of course, subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel that is home sometimes of the Chris times Chris Jr. show. So WTF, I'm going to start off with something that I know that you liked for once. I'm not going to be selfish. I am a team player. This is a team just like VGK. 3 versus 3 overtime in where? The KHL? Okay, so overtime, new rule. Not allowed to skate back to their own half of the ice. If you do it the second time, you get an infraction. You get a penalty. You like this rule. WTF, should the NHL adopt this KHL rule?
I think there's something there, and I think the NHL is going to watch it closely. Problem of overtime: keep away. Like 3-on-3 overtime is chaos. It's confusion. It's odd man rushes. It's exciting. It's fun, and the deeper it gets, the crazier it gets. I remember a sequence going back to just hit me. A Winnipeg. We're going back, I think, season 1 or season 2. A game against the Winnipeg Jets where the Golden Knights just completely wore down. I think it was Dustin Byfuglien out there. He was just totally gassed and watching to move the puck around, but it was because of just this crazy up and back flurry and stuff. That's what 3-on-3 overtime is. I don't want to see this nonsense of skate around, look for an opening. Okay, dump it all the way back. I mean, they pass it to the goalie sometimes, Tony. They pass it to the goalie.
Okay, on the flip side, though, they do want to get started and get momentum going. Correct? By going backwards before they come forwards. And
yeah, you have a chance in your breakout. Do it right the first time.
Okay. So you do like this. Remember, we had all these rules. We had that one segment. I want the puck to come off of the netting and still be a live puck.
The puck should just explode if it goes backwards over the red line. Just exploding puck. There you go. I mean, I'm curious what happens. Okay, so there's the rule and there's the spirit of the rule, right? If the forward passes it to the point, and let's say Alex Pietrangelo is back there and can't handle the pass. Sorry. Let's say he can't handle the pass. Does he have to go back and, like, if he touches it, is that considered an infraction at that point? Or is it simply the act of carrying the puck? So those are the questions and the things that the KHL are going to have to work out. But it's a step in the right direction. Is it the best option? I don't know, but definitely needs a season to see how it works out and go from there. I mean, on the flip side, you get one whistle, then the puck will go down low. If you do it a second time, now it becomes a penalty. Now you're short 4-on-3 in overtime. That's a big penalty, but I don't know what if there's something in between there. You're not going to put like a 1 minute half penalty out there, or I don't know.
Okay. You have any more WTFs? I could keep going.
I got a fun one, I guess. So we're recording the show a week in advance. Our flight just got bounced a couple hours, and we actually got $60 in meal vouchers we can use somewhere inside the airport because of that. So that
you're going to be on assignment. You'll be on assignment.
Yes, I'm on assignment. I'm looking to be scouting the Alaska Aces ECHL team and see how they fare against the Tahoe Lake Erie Night Monsters.
Okay. I called them the Monster Nights, I think, the other day. No one corrected me. Okay, go
It
ahead.
doesn't roll off the tongue. I'm not even knocking them. It just doesn't roll off the tongue yet. That's all. It's taken some time. The
All right.
Tessies. Tesla?
Okay.
Tessies? Tesla.
Tessies. The Tessies. Okay, I'll continue because you're just okay.
I'm just what?
WTF? You're just
What?
lagging. WTF?
Fair.
NBA Summer League
Like your
wrapped up
internet, usually.
last week. It wrapped up, and I feel the NHL should have hear me out, a shorter version of Summer League with all these rookies and other players. And also, you get to utilize, which is pretty much an empty venue in T-Mobile Arena. They have sporadic concerts in there and shows.
T-Mobile or Dollar Loan Center, whatever.
Even Dollar Loan Center would be fun. You're right. But during the dog days of summer, I think that this might fill a void for NHL fans. Good way to network and to also give younger players a chance to shine. WTF?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it needs to be 3-on-3 or 4-on-4, but I think a rookie tournament of sorts would be a lot of fun. And, Brendan Brisson can captain the VGK team.
It's rookies and players like Brendan Brisson,
Seriously, I think there is something here. So what's pretty cool, make sure if you're paying attention, write this down on your napkins at home. Although I don't think the camp's going to be here, Tony, right? Did you say the rookie camp is not in Vegas this year?
No, it's in California in El Segundo. I left my wallet there once. It's a song. Okay, go ahead.
If your heart, like your heart in San Fran, never mind. No, I mean, so unfortunately, it's not going to be in Vegas this year. But that rookie camp that they did in Vegas, I want to say for the last couple of years, was just phenomenal. I remember going there a couple different days, and on one rink, there's the Sharks players working on. On the other rink, there's the Anaheim Ducks players working on. Here comes Vegas for a practice, and then you got these games starting, and the players are in full uniform. You got refs out there; they're hitting, they're fighting. These are full NHL games with up-and-coming rookies, players you're going to hear about, at least a few of them, later on in the season, especially for teams like the Ducks and the Sharks, who just have these tremendous rookie pools, and they're just trying to see what's going to stick. We keep talking about stuff that's going to stick on that bucket on the wall. But it's just so much fun, and it's unfortunate that it's not going to be in Vegas this year, whether I'd be there as a media invitee or just simply hanging out. I would love to go, but if it's going to be in California, I don't see a path to that unless Upper Deck wants to send me out there.
Yeah, WTF, a 1990 song from A Tribe Called Quest. I left my wallet in El Segundo. Okay, do you have any other WTFs, Mr. Golick? No?
Go ahead. I'm sure if you got something, go ahead.
I just have one other one. WTF, a defenseman that we haven't talked much about that could be a call-up from Henderson.
Don't say Joe Fleming.
A guy by the name of Joseph Fleming. No, I didn't. Wasn't it? What about Robert Haig? They just picked him up. He played in San Diego last year. It's H-A-G-G. I believe it's pronounced Haig. I don't know. You can have the Haig.
Say this again. I'm sorry. How do you spell his last name?
H-A-G-G. W-T-F-F. H-A-G-G.
All right, let's learn about Robert.
So he played in 343 NHL games, mostly with the Flyers. Played in San Diego a season ago. Played in 47 games. Despite playing 343 games, he's just 29 years old. He's not quite yet 30, where VGK might extend him for 8 years. But he's 29. They could use his experience. And
he can't be a number one defenseman. He's a lefty. He can't be a number one defenseman, though.
He cannot be a number one. But he could get some spot duty. WTF? What are your thoughts?
So I'm very caught off guard here, but
that's what I'd like to do.
I like this. No, this is good. I'm okay with this.
Yeah, but
I'm trying to see if you got to fight with like an F1 racer or something.
This guy has a lot of experience that you
I
could
got no
utilize.
dirt on him when I Google him, so that's a good start.
That's a good start.
Good start. In segment 3.
But
no, this is listen. This is interesting. All goofiness aside for a second, as we're about wrapping this up, but it's a lottery ticket, right? And the Golden Knights have had plenty of injury issues on the defensive side. Haig might come in around the 9th or 10th defenseman on the pecking order. That could actually go up depending on if Shea Theodore and or Braden McNabb or even Zach Whitecloud, if there is some type of transaction made. So you get a trade, you get a couple injuries, all of a sudden, boom, Robert Haig, get out there on the third pairing with Haig or Whitecloud or something like that. And I mean, it's a lot of experience, and he's 29. He ain't done yet. I just
Right.
want to know why with the Anaheim Ducks, who don't have the scariest defensive core, why couldn't he get more opportunity to play at that level? 12
Mhm.
points plus 7 with San Diego. Like, I mean, okay.
It's okay. It's okay. It's someone with a ton of experience that they could just plug in.
Yeah, I just wonder. I have questions. I have questions.
Of
Like,
course.
I didn't
Or
see he. I don't think he punched an F1 racer. I don't think he got in any trouble.
no, I didn't
Maybe
see. I didn't see
so. Good.
Broccolini. I didn't see Broccolini on his bio.
6'2", 210. I mean, he's checks the boxes. I like him. I
You
like
didn't
the dude.
like
I'm
the
gonna go get his jersey.
Broccolini line. You didn't like the Broccolini line. It's all good.
Broccoli.
We-
So we got the broccolini line, and we got the IKEA. I think the IKEA line, Tony, might stick. I think people like
oh,
that.
that is sticking. Of course.
Hashtag it's. We're
We
done.
appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you so much. Of course, especially our everydayers. Please make sure that you subscribe to our Lockdown Golden Knights YouTube channel and make sure you find our podcast wherever you get our podcast. And make sure that you also, I'm giving them too many chores, but please always comment on YouTube and on X. For my man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco saying so long for now. We'll see you again next week right here on Locked On Golden Knights. I think I said take care already. And please take care.